Hi, and welcome to the radio shop and another episode of Mail Time. And as you can see on the bench, we have several packages. There's 4 packages, one little small package which came from an individual, and 3 packages that came from one guy. So I'm not going to sit here and open every box on camera because we're going to have a little bit to discuss in this video. But I think you'll like the items that were sent in. And we'll go ahead and get right into it and take a look at them. So this is our first item that was sent in. I'll go ahead and get this open. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. And I know what this is without even looking at the note. And what we have here is a fuse holder. And this is for the Fluke bench style multimeters, and it was for the 8050A. And we got a note here. It's from Joel. And thank you very much, Joe, for sending this in. And the close is a Fluke 8050A fuse holder for your Fluke on your bench. Now, apparently either Joe saw a video I did way back where he noticed that this Fluke here on the bench does not have the fuse holder and the milliamp jack. And the way Fluke did it, the fuse holder goes directly into the front of the unit, and then you plug your probe into the end of the fuse holder, and this way it's protected. So we'll take a look at this fuse holder. Now there is some difference between the 8050A and the 8010, and that's the size of the fuse holder. But the good thing about it is these still work with the 8010, and I'll show you why. If you notice on this fuse holder, it's probably about 1.25 inches long, and you'll see these 2 tabs. Now as we look at the 8010, you can see down inside those little tabs in there. So the locking tab is only about 3 millimeters thick. So when you plug the fuse holder in, you will give it a twist and that will lock it in place. And also the edge of the fuse holder will be flush. The 8050 will work just fine. I could still plug a probe directly into it, so it'll work with no problems. The only thing that may would cause a problem when you go to pull it out, you'll pull the whole fuse holder out, as you can see. So to remedy that, all I have to do is come in here and mill out part of this notch so it'll go in and turn and lock, which is no problem whatsoever. Now I've been on eBay and everywhere searching for one of these fuse holders, and they just do not show up that often. So this will be a good accessory to use with my bench multimeter. So Joe, I appreciate this very much. I'll go ahead and get this modified so it'll lock in place, and this will solve the problem, and now I can use my milliamp scale on my Fluke 8010. Thank you very much, Joe. Well, since we opened the smallest package first, I gotta go ahead and open the biggest package next. And I have 3 boxes that were sent in from George in Texas, and he had emailed me prior to this and asked me if I wanted some equipment he had. Well, I couldn't turn it down with what it was. So I went ahead and opened the first big box, and inside we have this binder. No, it's not a Honeywell, it's just a Honeywell binder. And we'll open this up, and what we have is a instruction manual for the model TS520 SE from Kenwood. And this just goes through, you know, it's just a basic. We also have a it's like an instruction manual for the SM220 station monitor. So yeah, it's just a basic printed out instruction manual. But here in the bag we have some parts, and we'll pull these out. And what we have is some front panel switches. This is for the CN heaters, noise blanker, AGC, and so forth. And a little picture of a 520 on the front. So why do we have all this? Well, I'm going to show you. So what else was in this box was a Kenwood TS520 SE amateur transceiver. And as you can see, she's got a little rust on the cabinet. And you know, she's just basically a bit dirty from sitting around. We can see here on the front that we are missing the box switch, although the inner switch is still in, and it works just fine. And we see that the wide narrow switch is at an angle. The switches are real loose, but what's there is working. But the TS520s are great radios. A lot of novices cut their teeth on this radio. It was probably one of the most popular starter radios that has ever been built, other than its companion, the Yaesu FT101. You know, it's about the same era radio. And whenever you get an old piece of equipment like this, you know, it's not always wise just to plug it in, because you don't know, you know, what's been going to it. Before you do anything, you know, go in there and check all the controls. When you turn these switches, just don't grab them and re-yank down on them. Just turn them easy and make sure they won't return. Because some of these switches, especially the band switch, has multiple layers of wafers behind it, and if something is corroded, especially when you got something like this right here, like it's been, you know, around a little moisture and it's got rust on it, be very careful, because these contacts could corrode enough so that when you turn it, you'll actually break the bait light, and then you got yourself a good boat anchor, not unless you can go out and find another whole assembly to go in it. So be very careful doing that. Just turn them easy. You know, don't force it. If you feel like it doesn't want to go, stop what you're doing. Get inside and investigate. I want to go ahead and just give an overall view of the radio. And you see we got a little rust on the chrome, and it's just surface rust, you know, basically all over the cabinet. And on the back you can see some surface rust on the back. Now, if you're going to restore a radio, you can get some naval jelly. You know, remove the stuff off the radio that you can take off. Put some navel jelly on it, let it sit, come back and clean it off, do it again until you got no more rust, and then you go in there and polish this back panel. And as you can see, we're going, from rust to a little corrosion. Now there's a coating on this back panel, so when you get everything off, that coating will be missing, so that'll leave the back panel susceptible to rusting again. So you can either paint it or put some polyurethane on the back, just to keep it from rusting anymore. But other than that, it is what it is. To me, it is a beautiful piece of equipment. Now, it looks like someone's made some modification here. As you can see out of the accessory jack, there's a cable coming out with a RCA connector on it. So we'll have to get in there and find out just what this is. And one thing that's nice when receiving a piece of equipment like this is when you take the top off and you get inside of it, and you can see it is virtually clean. There's not a lot of corrosion. You don't see any missing parts. Everything looks like it's all in place. We have our single sideband and CW filter. The CW filter is installed. That's great. You won't find the AM filter in the Kenwood TS520s because they do not cover AM. So she looks very good on the inside. I am very satisfied with the way this radio looks. I think the front panel will clean up nice. I did notice that the VFO does not turn. And since this has been around a little moisture, it's probably the bearings up in the front has seized up. So we'll have to take the VFO out and give it a good cleaning and re-lubricate it and see can we get the VFO back up and running. But no, it doesn't turn at all. So this rig looks like a good candidate to start a new series on repairing a Kenwood TS520 station. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute, why I'm saying station. But to give you a little bit of history, a lot of times when you find the TS520s, I'm not talking about cosmetic wise, but as far as electrical or electronic wise, you'll find that these radios are mostly in better shape than what you find the FT101s are. And the reason being is, since this radio is not all mode and doesn't have AM in it, a lot of these was not golden screwdrivered. Every now and then I would hear of someone running the TS520 on 11 meters, but it's single sideband only. So they weren't quite as popular as the FT101 with the 11 meter crowd. So you'll find that these are less golden screwdrivered than what the 101s are. So we will get on through the rest of the equipment that was sent in and have a look at it. So the next item in the next box I opened is the Kenwood SB520 speaker, and it's in fairly decent shape. Very minimum rust on it. A little bit here on the bottom, one little spot here on the top. Let's see, we got our old style panel in the back with our terminals for speaker wire, but it looks in very good shape. There's no dents on the front face of it. Looks real good. This will be very easy to clean up and make look new again. We also have the Shure desk mic, and the first thing I noticed was a part here on the side that goes from 1 to 9, so that makes me think this is a power mic. And sure enough, that is to hold a 9-volt battery. This is the Shaw Brothers Incorporated model 526T Series 2 microphone. And I have never ran a power mic on the TS520 before, so I'm not quite sure how the sound would be on that, so we'll have to play around with that. The next item we have is our digital display. This is the DG-6, and as you know, it's just basically a frequency counter. You can go display or counter and actually use this for a counter. Now we know we do have some surface rust on it, and this is all rear panel connections, DC in, and this is your calibrate when you're doing, and this is for using it for a frequency counter where it says count in. But these three, the head, the VFO, and the carrier will actually hook to the radio and display the frequency that you're on. So we'll need to check this out and see if it works. But that's a great accessory to have with any of these analog radios. Now on to our next item. I think everybody knows what this is. This is the VFO 520S, and this just gives you, oh yeah, see this one here turns great, and we have an RIT control, and this is our function switch. So what you can do with the VFO, you can connect it to the 520 and you can run split. In other words, you can use the radio to receive one frequency and transmit another frequency and vice versa. So this comes in handy when you're running some of those DX stations that run a split frequency, and this gives you the ability to do that. And the VFO is very smooth. No problems whatsoever on the VFO. Another great addition to have. Next up we have the Kenwood AT200. This is a antenna tuner. And the good thing about this antenna tuner is that, you know, you have the dummy position. You can switch over and you can just plug a dummy load right in back and do all your station testing and tune-ups into a dummy load. It covers 160 to 28 megahertz. And I didn't mention before, but the TS520 SE has 160 meters in it, unlike the 520 plain. It only covers 10 through 80. So now we have an antenna tuner that matches the radio and also covers all the frequencies. And again, you know, just checking out. The dials work good. This is your load and tune capacitors. And check this. All the switches on the front seem good. Now notice when I go from 14 megahertz to 21 megahertz, the switch doesn't seem right, and I'm not able to get it in the 28 megahertz range. So this will need to be, you know, taken apart and look at and see what the problem is. And we have another piece that makes this very exciting. This is the Kenwood SM220 station monitor. And this was a must back in the day to have, because with this you can monitor your RF out. You can use it to tune your transmitter by going into the trapezoid waveform and look at your linearity when you're tuning your transmitter, and it would be like a little triangle coming up here, starting here on this side, and then ramps up as you talk. And the thing is, you want to keep the triangle as a triangle when you're tuning your transmitter. You don't want to get a trombone effect, or you don't want to get a square edge on this side, which means you're flat topping. So with this, you can really sit down and get your transmitter peak to maximum performance and linearity. Now, there was an option that was installed in these that you normally don't see, and that one option was a pan adapter. And when this comes in, looking at it, you know, what it's set to, I have to wonder if that pan adapter feature is inside of it. So I've already got the screws out of it. And we'll go ahead and pull this out. Now when you're opening this case, there's a metal tab here on the front. Just don't grab it and pull it open, because you can break the bezel on the front. And as you can already see, we have the pan adapter that's installed. The Kenwood TS520 uses the VS-5, and this is what we have in here. And this covers the 3 megahertz, 3.395 megahertz for the Kenwood TS520. If it was VS8, it would be for the 800 series Kenwoods. But what does the pan adapter do? Well, it takes this single, the 3 megahertz single from your radio, and when you go into your band scope mode, it's kind of like a spectrum analyzer, but what it's looking at is your receiver passband. So anything that your receiver is receiving in the passband will show up on this scope as a spike, just kind of like a spectrum analyzer. So if you're running down, you're running contest, and you're on the center frequency, and you're seeing other spikes pop up, you know where to go ahead and tune to, which way to tune. You can look up and down the passband of the receiver, and you can go ahead and jump right into that after you finish this contact. That really helps with chasing DX and contesting. Now the SM220 also has a marker generator and tone generator. It has 1000 hertz, 1575 hertz, and 2-tone. This works real good also to inject the signal straight into the microphone when tuning your single sideband transmitter. Now the construction of the SM-220 is very good quality. You will notice there is a few electrolytic capacitors, and they're running, they're 250 volt rated here in the back, and I don't think there's just a handful in the basic circuitry. The high voltage uses these oil field capacitors, and these things almost last forever. However, I did have one fail in an SM220 that I had, and it was on, and I had left and went to the store for some lunch and come back, and the shop was full of smoke. But a capacitor failed and took out the main transformer, and it burnt the transformer up. So still, yeah, they can do some damage, but with any old piece of equipment, rule of thumb, never leave it on when it's unattended. Always cut it off. We can see we have our CRT here. And on the back we have our DC power and our fuse. We have a ground lug. We have our input and different outputs, so you can run this thing in several configurations. This is an attenuator here in the back also, so if you're running an amplifier, you can attenuate the single so you don't put, legal limit completely through the whole circuit. Now I heard other people say that these had 3 ground terminals on the back because there's 3 wing nuts here. These 2 wing nuts are not grounds. This is for your trace rotation. Basically this is just an oscilloscope with some added features. Now most of the time on your modern oscilloscopes, like over here on the Tektronix, we got a little adjustment screw there to adjust trace rotation, and that's to get our line completely horizontal on the screen to line up with the graduals. On the 220, to adjust it, you just loosen these wing nuts and you can turn them back and forth to get our trace lined up. Here is the output for the IF connection to your receiver, so that your band scope or pan adapter will see the signal. So now for the moment of truth, since we went by Dave's rule of thumb of don't turn it on, take it apart, we took it apart. Now we get to turn it on. And we have a power light. We'll let it warm up just a minute. And I'm seeing a trace on the screen. Let's see here. I'll bring this over, put this down the middle, and as you can see, the trace is not quite horizontal with it. So we do need some trace rotation adjustment. But it seems to be working. So I'll trap in RTT position. I'll grab a probe right quick. Okay, I've got it into a 100 kilohertz single, and you can see that the tracers are working. And that's our square wave. So notice a little flicker, so it looks like we're gonna have to, clean some controls, get this cleaned up, and go in there and replace those electrolytics. And we should have a pretty decent working unit. So, I'm very curious as to why the band switch on the antenna tuner is not functioning correctly. I think we'll get in here and take a look at it and see what's going on. Now there's not a whole lot in the antenna tuner that can go wrong electrically. It's mostly going to be mechanically. And so I turn it here, you can basically see why I say that. There's not a lot of passive components on it. We've got a few capacitors under there, and we have a resistor and a few components over here, some small coils. But something in this band switch is not functioning correctly. And I think I see the problem. So what we're going to do is zoom right in on this these wafer switches on the band control. Oh, come on, camera. There we go. And as I move the band switch, don't know if y'all can see that in the camera or not. I don't think you can. But the band switch, one of the wafers, is broken. And it's this wafer right here. There it goes. You can see it now. Yep, it is broken. And it looks like it's cracked just above this terminal right here. So we'll have to pull this apart and see if I have a wafer of that size, so we can get in there and repair that, or glue the old wafer back together. It's going to depend on how much tension is on that with all the wiring. This happens to be the one that goes to the tap coil, as you can see, that has all the wiring on it. So I can see where there's been a lot of pressure from the wiring here going down to that wafer switch. And it looks like the wafer switch is sitting at the angle on the top. So we have to take this out, get ahead and desolder all these wires and see what we can do with it. So I'm also very curious if the digital display works. I think we're going to crack it open right quick and have a look at it. So as you can see inside, just like any digital frequency counter or display, we have a ton of logic circuits, and these are 7400 series that you would find in just about any common digital display. So on the back right here we have our power connector, and it takes 13.8 volts. We'll go ahead and hook some power to this and see if it comes on. And there we go. I'll put 13.8 volts to it, and the display has come to life. And if you see, it's reading 90, and this because there's nothing coming into it to tell it what to do with itself. Now it should go all zeros when I put it down here into the counter mode, and it did. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to make up a bunch of cables so we can get this checked out and see. But the unit is working. We'll probably go in here and replace all the electrolytics that's in here. It's probably about a dozen, maybe at the most, and check solder joints, because this thing is from the 70s. But other than that, that should be good to go. Clean up all the switches. Got a few screws that's got some rust on them. We'll take them out and clean them and coat them. Okay, I have it in the counter mode, and I'm injecting the frequency of 14.250 into the connector on the back, and you see the display is corresponding to our single generator, and it's showing 0.1, so that's not a bad error rate. So I think we got another winner. So with any repair, always start with the mechanical problems that the unit have. It's when you're going and trying to repair something, you got mechanical problems like dirty switches, broken switches, controls that don't work correctly. That can always mess you up on your repair. So we'll start with mechanical repairs. On the radio, we'll have to replace those switches and go ahead and get that VFO knob freed up, and then we can start on the electronic parts on it. Same thing with the antenna tuner. We'll need to go in and repair that wafer switch, and then give it a good test out and see how she does. I wasn't able to test the remote VFO, not to make up some cables. I need to order some, I think they're 9-pin plugs. This radio did not come with the 9-pin plug in the back of it, but I do have 2 that I can borrow from the other 520s just for testing purposes. So I'm gonna have to order some of those, and we'll make up some cables that we need, you know, to go from the radio to the VFO. And I need to get some extra ones in stock anyway, because I'm completely out of them. And then I need to search through my books and see can I find the paint code. Take all the metal work out there in the shop and throw it in the glass cabinet. Get all the paint stuff off of it and give it a good sanding. And we'll go ahead and paint and clear coat all the cabinets, all the metal work, and then clean up all the other stuff. Put a little naval jelly on the back of the radio and get some of that rust off. So this will be a long, drawn out series also, just like the FT101 is going to be. So yeah, I think it'll be a good station when it's finished. And we might just set this up and use it for training purposes for new would-be hams that want to come in, you know, and learn a little bit about ham radio and use an old vintage station to get on the air and have a bit of fun with. So basically, as you see, what we have is just about a complete Kenwood TS520 station. And a big thanks go out to George in Texas for sending this in. Now what I want to do is go online. There's 2 more pieces I would like to find to complete this old station. And that is the transformers. The TV502, which is the 2-meter transformer, and the TV506, which is the 6-meter transformer. Now it would probably be a long time before we could find those, especially at a reasonable price. Those are almost as rare as hen's teeth to run across, but we'll be looking. And another thing that we'll do is this whole station. You know, I think it's we got a good platform here to start with. I think I'll do a complete TS520 repair series, you know, going from the radio through the counter, restoring all the stuff, and through every piece until we get every piece working right. And that will be a pretty long series, and that'll coincide with our FT101 series. So I'll probably, you know, do an FT101 video and then throw in a TS520 video, staggering back and forth throughout the coming year. So again, a big thank you to George. And when I'll start this repair series, I'm gonna also take pictures and information and post on the website. I'll leave a link down below, and also there'll be a link to contact information if anyone else wants to send some cards, letters, or mail time items, or contact me. Just click on the show more tab down below. So I hope you enjoyed this mail time segment. I know I sure did. This is very exciting equipment to get in. So again, big thanks to Joel and to George both. And the next video coming up, video number 100, will be another special repair, and it should be coming up shortly. So stay tuned, stick around. I'd like to hear your comments down below, and we'll catch you down the log.